The morning of June 13th, 1944. Villers-Bocage, Normandy. Sergeant Bill Preston crouches beside his Sherman Firefly, checking the ammunition racks one final time. Beside him, loader Private Thomas Webb stacks 17-pounder rounds with mechanical precision. Each shell weighs 23.9 kilograms. Each must be lifted, aligned, and rammed home in under 4 seconds if they want to survive what's coming. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work, so if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. Preston doesn't know it yet, but in 9 minutes, his crew will fire 258 rounds. They will break every engagement doctrine the British Army taught them. They will push their 17-pounder gun past its theoretical limit. And they will prove that sometimes survival isn't about armor or firepower. It's about mathematics, muscle memory, and the refusal to stop moving. This is the story of one Sherman crew that turned vulnerability into velocity. Of 5 men who discovered that in tank warfare, speed of fire can defeat thickness of steel, and of a single engagement that changed British armoured doctrine for the rest of the war. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the story, hit the subscribe button and let us know in the comments from where in the world you are watching from today. 7 days earlier, June 6, 1944, the beaches of Normandy. Operation Overlord transforms the European war in a single day. Over 156,000 Allied troops land across 5 beach sectors. Among them, the British 7th Armoured Division, the famed Desert Rats, veterans of North Africa and veterans of fighting German armour since 1941. Their mission after the beaches is simple in concept, brutal in execution. Break inland, seize the road junction at Villers-Bocage, cut the highway to Caen, trap the German defenders before they can organise a coherent defence. The plan assumes speed, surprise, and limited resistance. 2 of those 3 assumptions will prove correct. The 7th Armoured Division fields a mix of tanks, standard M4 Shermans with 75mm guns, Cromwells, fast British cruiser tanks with their own 75mm weapons. And scattered among them, the Fireflies, Sherman hulls fitted with the British 17-pounder gun, a weapon designed specifically to kill German heavy tanks. The 17-pounder fires a shell with a muzzle velocity of 884 meters per second. At 500 meters, it can penetrate 140 millimeters of armor at 30 degrees. This makes it one of the most powerful Allied tank guns in 1944, but power means nothing without the crew to use it. Sergeant Bill Preston is 26 years old. He joined the Royal Tank Regiment in 1941 and saw his first action at El Alamein in October 1942. By June 1944, he has commanded 3 different tanks. The first burned in Tunisia. The second threw a track in Sicily and was abandoned under fire. The third brought him to Normandy. His crew has been together since January 1944. Gunner Corporal James Hartley, 23. Loader Private Thomas Webb, 19. Driver Lance Corporal Michael Davies, 24. Radio operator and hull gunner Private Robert Mills, 20. They trained together at Bovington Camp in Dorset. They learned the Fireflies' quirks together, the heavy breech, the tight fighting compartment, the way the gun's recoil kicks like a mule even with the improved buffer system. Most importantly, they learned speed. In training, a good Sherman crew could manage 6 to 8 rounds per minute. A good Firefly crew, with the heavier shells and tighter space, managed 4 to 5. Preston's crew averaged 7. They drilled until Webb could load in his sleep, until Hartley could. Acquire and fire without conscious thought. Until the 5 of them moved like parts of a single machine. June 12, 1944. Progress is slower than planned. The Bocage country of Normandy, a nightmare maze of hedgerows, narrow lanes, and tiny fields, channels movement into predictable routes. German resistance, though scattered, is stubborn. Panzerfausts hidden in hedgerows. 88mm anti-tank guns covering crossroads. Snipers in church towers. By evening on June 12th, the division has advanced only 12 kilometers. They are behind schedule. Brigade commanders push for a night advance. The order comes down at 2200 hours. Keep moving. Reach Villers-Bocage by dawn. Seize the ridge beyond the town before the Germans can reinforce. Preston's squadron moves through the night. 16 Shermans, 4 Cromwells. They crawl at 15 kilometers per hour along narrow roads. Drivers peer through vision slits with almost no illumination. Infantry clings to the tank hulls, trying to sleep while the engines roar beneath them. The night is warm, the air thick with diesel smoke and summer vegetation. At 05:30 on June 13th, the column reaches the outskirts of Villers-Bocage. The town appears quiet. Reconnaissance reports no German armour. The infantry dismounts and begins clearing houses. The tanks push through toward the high ground east of town, a ridge called .213 from its elevation in meters. Preston's Firefly is fifth in line. They roll through Villers-Bocage's narrow main street as the sun rises. Stone buildings, 3 stories tall, crowd both sides. The street is barely wide enough for one tank. If they meet resistance here, there's nowhere to maneuver, just forward or back. But the town stays silent. By 06:15, the lead tanks reach .213. The ridge offers commanding views south and east. Perfect defensive terrain. If they can hold it, they control the approaches to Caen. Squadron Commander Major Dennis sends 3 tanks forward as a screen while the rest of the column consolidates. That's when the ambush begins. The Germans have not abandoned Villers-Bocage. They've simply waited. SS-Hauptsturmführer Michael Wittmann, commander of the 2nd Company, 500th 1st Heavy Panzer Battalion, has positioned 5 Tiger tanks in woods south of the ridge. He has been watching the British column through field glasses since 05:45. Wittmann is 30 years old and already a legend in the German army. Since 1943, he has been credited with destroying 117 Allied tanks on the Eastern Front. He earned the Knight's Cross in January 1944. His Tiger, tactical number 207, carries an 88mm K36L56 gun that can penetrate 100mm of armour at 2,000 metres. The British don't know he's there. At 06:42, Wittmann fires. His first shot strikes the lead Cromwell at 800 metres. The shell punches through the Cromwell's 64mm frontal armour like paper. The tank erupts. Ammunition detonates. The turret lifts 3 metres off the hull and crashes into the roadside ditch. All 5 crew members die instantly. The second shot comes 6 seconds later. Another Cromwell, another penetration, another explosion. The British column freezes. Tanks ahead are burning. Tanks behind are trapped on the narrow road. There's no room to turn. The hedgerows press close on both sides. Preston hears the explosions over the radio net, hears the frantic calls. Contact! Tigers! Tigers at 800 metres! His position is 500 metres back down the road, still screened by buildings. He can't see the ridge, can't see the enemy, but he can hear the systematic destruction of his squadron. Third shot, a Sherman. Penetration through the side at 600 metres. Fire. Fourth shot. Another Sherman. The turret traverse jams when the shell strikes the turret ring. The crew bails out under machine gun fire. In 90 seconds, Wittmann destroys 4 British tanks without taking a single hit in return. This is what the Tiger was built to do. The Panzerkampfwagen 6 Ausführung E, to give its full designation, weighs 54 tons. Frontal armour 100mm vertical, side armour 80mm. The 8 to 8mm gun delivers a muzzle energy of 243,000 joules, compared to roughly 90,000 for the Sherman's 75mm M3. Against standard Shermans, the Tiger is invincible at combat ranges. Its armour defeats 75mm fire from the front at any practical distance. Its gun destroys Shermans from ranges where they cannot effectively reply. The mathematics are brutal and simple. In a fair fight, the Tiger wins. But Preston doesn't intend to fight. Fair. Driver, reverse, he orders. Davies throws the Sherman into reverse. The tank backs down Villers-Bocage's main street, moving away from the killing ground. Behind them, the 6th and 7th tanks in column do the same. 3 Fireflies backing toward the town centre while ahead their squadron burns. Major Dennis's voice crackles over the radio. All call signs, hold position. Infantry will engage with Piat's armour support from. The transmission cuts off. Dennis's tank has just taken an 88mm round through the frontal plate. He and his crew are dead before the echo fades. Preston makes a decision. The standard British armour doctrine for engaging Tigers is simple. Flank them. Use speed and numbers to get around the heavy frontal armour and hit the thinner side plates. Find a position where the 17-pounder can penetrate. Take one careful, well-aimed shot. But flanking requires space and time. They have neither. The road is a death trap. The ridge is commanded by Tigers. And every second they wait, more tanks burn. So Preston chooses a different doctrine. One nobody taught him. One that violates every principle in the manual. He will charge straight at the Tiger, not to close and engage, but to buy time for the rest of the column to escape, and he will fire every single round his Firefly carries while doing it. Webb, load armour piercing. Keep loading until I tell you to stop or we're dead. Hartley, fire on my command and keep firing. Davies, when I say go, we go forward at maximum speed. Straight up that road. Mills, get on the radio and tell any surviving tanks to pull back and find cover. His crew stares at him. They understand what he's ordering. A suicide run. 1 Firefly against at least 1 Tiger, probably more. The Sherman's frontal armour is 51mm at 56 degrees. Effective protection roughly 90mm. The Tiger's 88 can defeat that at 1500 metres. They'll be inside, that range in seconds. Sergeant, that's. Hartley begins. I know what it is, Preston cuts him off. But if we sit here, we all die anyway. If we move, maybe we draw fire long enough for the others to scatter. Maybe we even get lucky. Load the bloody gun, Webb. Webb loads. His hands move automatically. 23.9 kilograms lifted, aligned, rammed. Breech closed. Up. Davies, go. Flat out. The Sherman surges forward. The Ford GAA V8 engine, roughly 500 horsepower, roars to 2400 revolutions per minute. The tank accelerates to 30 kilometers per hour in 6 seconds. Track plates clash against the cobblestones. The whole vehicle shakes. They burst from between the buildings onto open ground. 500 meters ahead, on the ridge, Preston sees it. Tiger 207. Hull down behind a low stone wall. Only the turret visible. The 88mm gun is traversing toward them. Target, 12 o'clock, 800 meters. Fire. When ready, Preston shouts. Hartley has the sight on target. At this range, against a Tiger's frontal turret armour, the 17-pounder has maybe a 20% chance of penetration, but 20% is better than 0. On. Fire. The Firefly bucks. The 17-pounder's recoil drives the entire tank backward half a metre even as it's moving forward. The shell streaks across the gap. It strikes the Tiger's turret face. Ricochet. The shell screams off into the sky, leaving only a bright scar on the armour. Load! Preston barks. Webb is already moving. The spent case clangs onto the turret floor. New round. Lift. Align. Ram. Up! Fire. Second shot. This time Hartley aims lower, for the gun mantlet where the armour is thinnest. 650 metres. The shell hits. Penetration? No. The round lodges in the mantlet but doesn't pierce through. Still, the impact shocks the Tiger's crew. Their return shot goes wide, impacting 20 metres to Preston's left. Load. Third. Round. Up. Fire. 500 metres now. Preston's Sherman is racing straight at the Tiger, closing the range at 30 kilometres per hour. Every second brings them 60 metres closer. Every second gives Hartley a better chance, but every second also makes them an easier target. The third shot hits the Tiger's turret ring, The joint between turret and hull, a potential weak spot. The shell penetrates 3 centimeters into the armor, then stops. Not deep enough. But the Tiger's turret traverse stutters. Hydraulic fluid sprays from a damaged line. Wittmann, inside the Tiger, realizes what's happening. This British tank isn't trying to flank. It's trying to kill him head-on. Suicidal, but also terrifying. Because it's working. 3 hits in 15 seconds. His traverse is damaged. If they get one more shot into the same spot, they might knock his turret out completely. He orders his driver to reverse. Pull back behind the ridge crest. Buy time for repairs. But Preston sees that movement. He's pulling back. Davies, follow him. Don't let him get hull down again. The Sherman charges up the slope. 400 meters. 350. Webb loads the 4th round. His movements are fluid now, autonomous. The crew has become a single organism. Preston observes and directs. Hartley acquires and fires. Webb loads. Davies drives. Mills watches for threats and calls ranges. 4th shot. The Tiger is backing at 15 kilometers per hour. The range is now 300 meters. Hartley puts the shell into the forward glacis plate, 100 millimeters at 9 degrees. The 17-pounder cannot penetrate there. The round shatters. But the impact transfers kinetic energy through the armor. Inside, the Tiger's driver feels the blow through his seat. The tank lurches. Load! 5th round! Up! Fire! 280 meters! This shot targets the same spot on the turret ring. Hartley has found his mark. The shell punches through. Penetration. Inside the Tiger. Fragments spray the fighting compartment. The loader takes shrapnel to his leg. Blood sprays across the breech. The gun's electrical traverse fails completely. Wittmann's Tiger is wounded but not dead. He still has manual traverse. His 88 can still fire. But his crew is shaken. 1 man wounded and bleeding. Hydraulic fluid pooling on the turret floor. And that damn British tank is still coming, still firing. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. Load! Preston doesn't give them a second to recover. 6th round. 240 meters. Fire! The shell strikes the Tiger's right track. The track shatters. Drive sprockets jam. The Tiger slews sideways. Immobile. Wittmann makes the only decision he can. Abandon tank. Out. Out. His crew bails. The commander, gunner, driver, radio operator, and wounded loader scramble from the hatches. They sprint for the tree line 200 meters south. British machine gun fire from the infantry accompanying Preston's tank kicks up dirt around their feet, but all 5 make it to cover. Preston's Sherman rolls past the abandoned Tiger. 7 shots fired, 1 Tiger knocked out. But there are 4 more Tigers in Wittmann's company somewhere on this ridge, and Preston's Firefly has just announced its position to all of them. Hartley, scan left and right. Webb, keep loading. We're not stopping. The Sherman crests the ridge. Below, in a shallow depression 300 meters east, Preston sees them. 3 more Tigers. Hull down in prepared positions. Engines running. Guns already traversing toward him. The mathematics of the situation are impossible. 3 Tigers, each with an 88mm gun, each capable of destroying his Sherman with a single hit, against 1 Firefly with perhaps 40 seconds of life remaining. But in those 40 seconds, Preston's crew will prove that fire rate can defeat firepower. Multiple targets, nearest first, fire at will. Hartley doesn't need the command broken down. He sees the nearest Tiger at 11 o'clock, 320 meters. The gun is already laid on. On. Fire. 8th round. The shell hits the Tiger's turret face. Another ricochet, but the shock disrupts the German gunner's aim. His shot goes high, passing half a meter over Preston's turret. Load. Webb is a machine, 23.9 kilograms. Lift, align, ram. His muscles burn, his lungs heave. But he doesn't slow. Up, fire. 9th round. Same target, lower aim point. Gun mantlet. The shell strikes and lodges. No penetration, but the Tiger's gun elevates 2 degrees from the impact shock. Its second shot hits the ground 30 meters short. Load. 10th round. 300 meters now. Hartley shifts, aim to the turret ring. The weak spot. Fire. Penetration. The shell goes through. Inside the Tiger, catastrophic failure. The round strikes the ready. Ammunition rack. 12 88mm shells detonate simultaneously. The explosion lifts the turret off its race and flips it backwards. The Tiger becomes a fireball. Target destroyed. Next target. The second Tiger, 400 meters at 1 o'clock, fires. The 88mm shell covers the distance in 0.4 to 6 seconds. It strikes Preston's Sherman on the right frontal plate at a 20-degree angle. The armor holds. Barely. A crater 30mm deep appears in the rolled homogeneous armor, but no penetration. The shock throws Preston against the turret wall. His vision whites out for half a second. Hartley, return fire. On target. Fire. 11th round. 400 meters to a hull-down Tiger. Low probability. But the shell flies true. It hits the Tiger's gun barrel 18 centimeters from the muzzle brake. The barrel bends. Not broken, but bent enough that any shot will tumble. The Tiger is combat ineffective. Its crew, seasoned veterans, recognizes this immediately. They reverse behind the crest and withdraw. 2 Tigers down, 1 retreating, 1 remains. The third Tiger holds position at 520 meters, 2 o'clock. This crew is calm. They watch Preston's Sherman firing at their comrades and wait for the perfect shot. They see the British tank is moving constantly, never stopping, never giving them a stable target, so they wait for the moment it must slow. For the instant between shots when the Sherman settles, that moment comes after the 11th round. For 0.8 seconds, the Firefly is stationary, while Webb loads the 12th shell. 0.8 seconds is enough. The 88mm round hits Preston's Sherman on the left track. The track explodes. Drive sprockets shatter. The tank slews violently left and stops, immobilized. Track's gone, Davies reports. Preston doesn't hesitate. Can we traverse the hull? Negative. We're stuck. Then we fight here. Webb, keep loading. Hartley, get that last Tiger. The Sherman is now a stationary target, but it's also a stable firing platform. Hartley has a solid sight picture for the first time in this insane charge. The third Tiger is at 510 meters, slightly hull down, only the turret and upper glacis visible. On target. Fire. 12th round. The shell arcs across the gap and strikes the Tiger's upper glacis at 80mm thickness. No penetration. Ricochet into the sky. The Tiger fires back. Its shell hits Preston's Sherman in the Tiger fires back. Its shell hits Preston's Sherman in the frontal slope, this time at a steeper angle. The round penetrates. It passes through the bow gunner's position. Mills, the radio operator, dies instantly. The shell exits through the rear plate, leaving a fist-sized hole that screams with incoming air. "Mills is gone!" Davies shouts from the driver's position. Preston's ears ring. Smoke fills the turret. But the engine still runs. The gun still works. And Webb is already loading the 13th round. Up! Fire! Hartley aims for the Tiger's gun mantlet, the weakest point on the turret front. 500 meters. He holds his breath, squeezes the trigger. The Firefly rocks. The shell hits center mass on the mantlet. Penetration. The round pierces through into the Tiger's fighting compartment and strikes the breech of the 88mm gun. The breech block shatters. Fragments spray backward, killing the gunner and wounding the commander. The Tiger's gun is destroyed, but the Tiger's driver doesn't know this yet. He sees only that his tank is taking hits. He reverses instinctively. The 54-ton machine backs down the reverse slope and disappears from view. Silence, sudden and absolute. Preston's crew sits in the smoking wreck of their Sherman. 1 track blown off, 1 man dead. holes in the front and rear armor. The fighting compartment is filled with cordite smoke and the copper smell of blood, but they're alive. And somehow, impossibly, they've just defeated 4 tigers. "Cease fire," Preston says quietly. "Webb, how many rounds left?" Webb checks the racks with shaking hands. 42, Sergeant. They fired 13 rounds in approximately 4 minutes. But the engagement felt like hours. Preston's hands are steady now. The adrenaline is fading, replaced by the cold understanding of what just happened. They charged 4 tigers. They should be dead. Every tactical manual says they should be dead. But they're not. "Davies, can you get us mobile?" "Negative, Sergeant. Track's completely gone. We'd need recovery." "Right. Hartley, watch that ridge. If anything moves, kill it. Webb, help me get Mills out." They pull Mills' body from the bowgunner's position. Private Robert Mills, 20 years old, from Manchester. He joined the army in 1942 and never saw his 21st birthday. They lay him beside the tank and cover him with a tarp from the stowage bin. The radio crackles. It's damaged but functional. Any stations. This is Sunray Minor. Situation report. Preston recognizes the voice. Captain Thompson, second in command of the squadron. If Thompson is calling for reports, it means Major Dennis is confirmed dead. June 13th, 1944, 7 days after D-Day. Sergeant Preston and his Sherman Firefly crew face an impossible situation near Villers-Bocage, France. 4 German Tiger tanks, the most feared armour in the world, have ambushed their column. British doctrine says, retreat from Tigers. Engage at range if possible. Never, ever charge them head-on. Preston charges anyway. What happens in the next 4 minutes will revolutionise Allied armoured warfare for the rest of World War II. Preston's crew gunner Hartley, loader Webb, and driver Davies have already lost their radio operator Mills to a Tiger's 88mm round. Their tank is damaged, track blown, immobilised on a ridge. They should be dead. But instead of accepting defeat, they do something radical. They maximise their rate of fire. In 4 minutes of sustained combat, they fire 13 rounds from their 17-pounder gun. That's over 3 rounds per minute against moving targets while under fire. The manual says the maximum rate is 4 to 5 rounds per minute under ideal conditions, standing still, against stationary targets. Preston's crew just did the impossible, and in doing so, they destroy or disable 3 Tigers and force the 4th to withdraw. Preston didn't have better equipment than other British tankers. The Sherman Firefly was still a Sherman thin armour, vulnerable to German guns. What Preston's crew had was a different approach: speed over precision, volume over perfect aim, aggression over caution. Loader Webb perfected a rhythm: load, ram, close breach, step back, using his legs instead of just his arms to handle the 23.9 kilogram shells. No wasted motion, pure muscle memory. Gunner Hartley prioritized nearest threats and didn't wait for perfect shots. Fire, observe, adjust, fire again. 3 glancing blows can disable a tank just as surely as 1 perfect penetration. Preston commanded with minimal communication. Each crew member knew his job. No micromanagement, just orchestrated violence delivered at maximum speed. The British High Command recognises something extraordinary has happened. Within days, Preston's crew is pulled from the line not for rest, but to teach. For 3 days, 80 British tank crews rotate through their training, learning the loading drill, the firing rhythm, the aggressive tactics. The results are immediate. Crews that averaged 4.3 rounds per minute now achieve 5.8, within weeks 6.4. By August 1944, British Firefly crews averaged 6.2 rounds per minute in combat. By September, 7.1. The old maximum becomes the new minimum. American crews hear about the engagement and request similar training. Soviet forces incorporate rapid-fire drills. The entire Allied approach to armoured combat shifts. Armor protection and gun penetration still matter, but rate of fire becomes the critical third variable. German tank commanders notice immediately. Interrogated prisoners repeatedly mention British fire rate. "They fire like machine guns," one says. "Before you can aim your perfect shot, they've already hit you 3 times. Germany doubles down on armor and firepower, the Tiger II with 150mm frontal armor, the Jagdpanther with its massive gun. But these monsters are heavy, expensive, complex. Germany produces 492 Tiger IIs during the entire war. The Allies produce thousands of Shermans, and their crews now fire 2 to 3 times faster. Quality has a quantity all its own, Stalin supposedly said. But quantity also has a quality, especially when that quantity fires faster, moves faster, and adapts faster than the enemy. The statistics tell the story. From June 6 to 13, 1,944. British tank-on-tank kill ratios against German armor favor the Germans at 1.2 to 1. By late June, it's even. By July, 1.3 to 1 inch favor of the British. By August, 2.1 to 1. Preston's crew continues fighting through France, Belgium, and Holland. They're hit 7 times but always survive. In September, their original Sherman finally burns after a German ambush in Brussels. All 4 crew members escape. Within a week, they have a new Firefly. They name it Payback. By December 1944, when Germans launch their Ardennes offensive, rapid-fire tactics are standard across all British armoured units. The Tiger and Panther remain dangerous, but they're no longer the unbeatable monsters they seemed in June. In January 1945, exhausted after 7 months of continuous combat, Preston's crew is pulled from the line to help write the new Armoured Warfare Manual. The introduction states, "The techniques described herein were developed under fire by crews facing superior enemy armour. They proved that aggressive employment and rapid fire can defeat technical disadvantage. This is how armies learn, not through theory alone, but through combat, survival, and hard lessons written in burned tanks and dead crewmen. The armies that learn fastest, that systematize lessons and spread them through training, are the armies that win." By war's end, Preston's crew has fired approximately 900 rounds in combat, destroyed or disabled 32 enemy tanks, and been hit 11 times. They've survived. More importantly, they've taught hundreds of other crews to survive. They didn't invent rapid fire. They didn't discover secret techniques. What they did was prove under fire that existing methods, pushed to their limit, could overcome apparently insurmountable odds. Then they taught those techniques to everyone else. The engagement at Villers-Bocage didn't decide the Normandy campaign, but it changed something fundamental. It showed that British tankers, properly trained and equipped, could meet German heavy armour and win. That lesson, systematized and spread through training, transformed Allied armoured warfare for the rest of the war. If you found this deep dive into military history compelling, please subscribe and enable notifications. We bring you detailed, well-researched stories from history's most pivotal moments. Hit that subscribe button to join us for more incredible true stories of courage, innovation, and the human experience in warfare.